President Obama releasing new details to his $3.4 trillion with a T budget. It includes $17 billion with a B in cost cuts, but big increases in domestic spending. Yeah, it's less than 0.5%. So, in our call of the wild, the question is, will the budget help or hinder the economy? Let us bring in our two distinguished. First up, Keith Boykin, CNBC contributor, editor of the Daily Voice, and the great Rick Santelli. Rick Santelli, we have not heard from you this morning so far in this show, so I wish to go to you first. Are you happy now that we have had across-the-board budgetary and fiscal restraint?
You know, you've said 0.5%, but, you know, this is much easier. You know, if you have GDP that's moving down, okay, and this is your zero line, by eliminating the bottom, and that's really what a lot of the budget is doing in the programs, you're taking the variance off. You're trying to save the day for the current credit crisis. But the price of that is shaving the future variance on the top. It's a lot like selling a call on your stock position. We are using future revenues to fix the hole today, so we're going to be carrying a trailer load up a hill for the next several years. I don't know how you can say it any easier than that.
Wait, let's give Keith.
Yes, how can you explain it any easier than that?
Well, I think isn't it the whole nature of borrowing? You borrow money from future revenue in order to take care of current needs now. That's nothing new. I don't think Rick is saying anything that we haven't heard before.
The only thing new is the magnitude.
Well, the magnitude is large. I have to give you that because the magnitude and the scope of the problems is large.
Well, the current problem is in education and health care, though.
Look what he inherited. First of all, President Obama
He didn't inherit anything. He ran for office. It was his choice.
Yeah, and he still inherited. He chose to inherit it. Rick, I mean, get real here. The reality is we have a huge budget deficit that the president inherited. He didn't create this. He inherited it. Now, let me just make a point here. Let me just say something here.
I acknowledge that Bush left him a deficit of $400 or $500 billion, but that doesn't impel President Obama to triple it. You see, that's the issue.
What President Obama is doing is can I just get a word in edgewise here? Well, let me just explain what's going on. I haven't had a chance to say this. What President Obama is trying to do is he's trying to invest in our future. Bush spent $6 trillion. He put us into $6 trillion into additional debt, and you know what we got out of it? Nothing. We got tax cuts for the wealthy, and we got two wars that we're still fighting. This is real, Rick. Let me finish, Rick. The reason why this is real is because this president is investing in health care. People will actually get health care. 46 million people didn't get health care because of those tax cuts in the Bush administration. We will actually get energy policy that works. I mean, for God's sake, this is ridiculous criticism.
Go ahead, Rick.
You know, putting windmills on cars is great, and I love it, okay? But at the end of the day, it's going to be years before that really replaces the current environment. You know, here's what we're saying, Keith. Keith, if you lost your job, would you then go out and borrow 40 grand to buy a hybrid to save some gas money? This education, the health care, we're all for it. But the time he's picking and how much he's spending isn't commensurate with the current problem. And the sins of the Bush administration are venial. You're committing more mortal sins. Both of them are sins.
Well, I personally trust the Democrats a lot more than I do the Republicans in the budget. In my lifetime, the Democrats have balanced the budget 5 times. The Republicans have never done it. The last Republican that balanced the budget was Dwight Eisenhower.
I think
I have more confidence in Barack Obama's ability to do this. He's going to cut the.
What has he done? Has he run a business?
His plan is going to cut the deficit. He's going to cut the deficit in half by 2013 at the end of his first term. He's going to invest in healthcare, education, and energy, so we actually have some long-term sustainability. We're not just talking about spending money for the sake of spending money. He's investing in our future. This is our future. These are people.
That's your impression of the future.
Maybe it's easy for you sitting there in Chicago to not worry about these things, but there are 46 million Americans.
There are 46 million Americans in this country. Stop using those tactics. This isn't about me.
46 million Americans do not have health insurance in this country.
And 46% don't want the deficits.
And he's helping to deal with that that problem. Rick, get real. We can't just worry
You're
about the
not
rich
real.
and the
You're not
investor
fighting
class.
fair.
We have to worry about the ordinary American. Real incomes have been declining.
I'll give you the ordinary
Income inequality
Americans.
has been growing.
Then they should get a better
all you're doing is
education
yelling
and earn
screaming.
more
You're not
money.
making the problem any worse.
Okay.
You know what? $6.1 trillion of unsecured mortgage debt in Freddie and Fannie. Are you guys putting that on the budget?
Rick, all this
Are you
ranting,
putting
all this
it on the
ranting and
budget?
raging and tea parties and nonsense isn't getting us anywhere.
Oh, yeah,
it's not producing any constructive solutions.
It's nonsense.
It's not producing
46%
any
of the
constructive
population
solutions.
is
You're
nonsense.
basically just generating populist
Nonsense.
hostility for
Let's
no
go
reason,
hug
Rick.
Chavez and tell teabaggers they're criminals.
all right,
Rick.
all right, guys, real quick. Keith's final point?
The final point is, let's give this guy a chance. He hasn't even started. He's been in office for a little more than 100 days. He's creating
At this pace,
a
it'll be
realistic budget.
$50 trillion.
He's putting Afghanistan and Iraq on the budget, unlike his predecessor. He's making a reasonable proposal. Let's give the guy a chance.
Rick, final point. Go ahead.
My final point is sins of the past don't make sins of the future better, and spending on very good programs isn't a good idea when we're in hock already and the GDP and tax revenues have been going down. End of story.
Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us. That was wild.